Welcome back to another episode of the Agents to Owners podcast. I am delighted today to have an absolute ray of sunshine in
Oh,
the insurance industry by way of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, founder of Bunker Insurance and Risk Management, Miss Ciara Gravier. Welcome to the show.
thank you. I'm so excited to be here. It's been a long time coming for
It
us,
has been
right?
a long time. Well, I've been patiently waiting because you're such a popular guest on
Oh,
all of our other shows. So I've kind of wanted to give it a little time, and
yeah.
I figured, no, let's just do it.
We
It's
saw
not
each
too
other in
bad.
Chicago. It connected us again.
It sure did. Sure did. Thank you for being here. Really looking forward to chopping it up. So we're going to kind of, bypass the real long history of
Yeah.
Ciara. Most of us that have followed you are well aware. So let's just kind of give a brief background and kind of tell us what led to you starting your third scratch agency and what it's been like for the last 4 years for you.
It has been a ride. It has been, I mean, I don't know that I would probably never do this again. I think I'm good. I'm good. It's like you said, our third one, we did the captive thing for a good amount of time. We had a lot of success there, but we realized quickly that there was more we can do on the independent side. And ever since we became an independent agent, we've loved it, and we love the community. We love being a part of it. We love being able to offer our clients more than what we were able to on the captive side. And so that's kind of what's always driven us, is the ability to just do more for the client. Being in South Florida, you know what the homeowners market is like here. So when we sold our last one in 2018, I knew I didn't want to do any personal
Yeah.
lines. I just We had such a high overhead with staff, and we don't, down here in South Florida, it's not like anyone's writing the home and the auto, so there's no bundling, there's no packaging, there's no discounts for that. So it's a challenge. We did it. I'm not saying it's impossible and you can do it profitably, but I just knew that I didn't want to go through that again.
Yeah.
It's not something I particularly care for. I didn't love it, so
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to create something that was boutique-ish, you can say,
Yeah.
right? Kind of exclusive in the sense of who we're serving, the market that we're serving. So I knew I was going to do commercial insurance. I knew I didn't want to do small commercial, but I had never really learned how to get the big commercial. So I opened in November 2019 with a dream. I knew that I could envision what I wanted, but I didn't know how I was going to get there. And then that's how we stumbled across Killing Commercial, and Killing Commercial was exactly what I needed. It elevated the game for me.
Yeah.
It took me to from I what I knew was what it took me from what I knew what was possible to actually being like, okay, well then I can actually do this, because now I know how. I have a roadmap,
Yeah.
which is getting the bigger commercial. So
And touch on, I know you've been all in on Killing Commercial.
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that program.
So for me, the biggest benefit for me, besides the community is by far the absolute best thing. I mean, literally, we help each other win deals, anything that they need. Like this weekend, I was helping someone out of Jersey, right? That has a large account. I was helping them with a proposal, zhuzhing it up a little. Like they've helped me earlier this year win a large restaurant. Like the community is by far the best.
Yeah.
Outside of that, though, it's given me the playbook on how to get in front of who I need to get in front of. So at our other agency, we had bought a book, and sure, there was some large commercial in the book, and we knew how to service it, but we didn't know how to go get it. So I've been able to apply because I am in South Florida. The markets are a challenge for me, right? So even though I'm not going after like the actual, what most would consider middle market, right? Like everyone has their own definition of it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So my middle market is not what the majority of the industry considers middle market. But what I've realized is that learning everything that Killing Commercial has to teach, right? I've been able to apply that middle market care to accounts that for me are really, really good. $2,000-3,000 revenue accounts
Yeah.
that are easy to manage, they're low service, and they're treated like they've never been treated before, because for those large box agencies, they're forgotten. They're not big enough.
Yeah. Right.
You know,
Right.
so I have quite a few large, what would be considered true middle market accounts, and they're great. And we're actually building a strategy around manufacturing, because that's one of them.
Mm.
I mean, I have a manufacturing account it's about 23,000 in revenue. I mean, that's a great account for me.
Yes.
They never bother us. Zero
Yeah.
service. You
Yeah.
know, so we're trying to that's some of the stuff that I've learned even in Killing Commercial, right? Is to how to evaluate an account. Like, do I really want to write this? Is this going to be profitable for me? What can I do to actually help them? Like, it makes me feel good to be able to do that too, right? Not just selling insurance, but actually be a partner for them. So
Yeah.
all of those things I've
Yes.
I've, I've learned it in Killing Commercial. You know, how to ask those difficult questions that other agents are not asking, because they're just looking to copy whatever they have on their insurance and match it and sell
Yeah.
it, you know? So that's kind of, we just try to do the opposite of that. Like, here in my development where our office is, we have about 4 other insurance agents. So
Yeah.
imagine if I just did the same thing that they're doing,
Right. Right.
you know?
Right. So
So
this,
Killing Commercial has taught me not only to have the different conversations, right? Talk about things differently, but also how to find my ideal prospect list, right? I have about 132 HVA service contractors, not just HVAC, but electricians and HVAC that I'm actively going after, because I know that they have issues. I know that my messaging is different. So that's kind of what Killing Commercial has done for me. It's given me the roadmap that I didn't have. I knew what I
yeah.
wanted to do, but I didn't know how I was going to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. You started your agency opposite of pretty much everyone else, or how
Yeah.
they start, which is, I want to try and write as much as I can. I need to grow.
Yeah.
Um, you were very intentional
Yes.
about how you wanted to grow, and with the idea that you were going to work with who you wanted to work with,
Mhm.
which is to your boutique agency, which I love it. I love it. Tell us a little bit about that, like who you're targeting, and how specific you are.
So, because of the market issue that I have, right? It's not like the majority of what I do is excess and surplus, which I know it's a headache, but the majority of the industry is also going that way. So it's like
Yeah.
I see what
Right.
my fellow agents are going through, and it's just like I feel bad for them. It's the space I've lived in my entire insurance career, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why we left Allstate, was because we couldn't really do much commercial, and we always liked the commercial side. So, but I've always just known how to do it E&S style,
Yeah.
because of geographically where I'm at. It is what it is. So um that's not a problem for me. And actually, I view it now as, you know what, in Florida we can fee it. So an account that, even let's say it's a referral, right? With referrals it's a little tricky, because sometimes you can't just say no, right? You have to do
Yeah.
things because it's a source of referrals, and they're putting a good word for you. So you got
Yeah.
to do some accounts that maybe you wouldn't do
Right.
proactively.
Yes.
But I had a fee, and then I make it profitable.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So that is probably the upside of the ENS for me. I've developed a process which we're constantly tweaking it on how to do it efficiently and quickly and as accurately as we can. The biggest issue with ENS is that, right? It's the accuracy. There's so many hands involved. So from you, the insured, the underwriter, then the process. It's just, we're triple checking things that we get
Yeah.
here in the agency. So um service contractors, they're typically residential service contractors. They're low service, because the commercial ones are, always need certificates. So we try to do that. I'm building out a manufacturing campaign for next year to go after manufacturing and distributing, which is large here. And
Yep.
the ideal one would be the one that owns the building they're in,
Yeah.
because obviously the property market here is insane as well. Um, Department of Defense contractors,
Mm.
great. That's my biggest client, is one of those, because
Okay.
they don't have a choice. He needs 13 insurance policies, and every year they need another one, right?
Yeah.
And they can't fight it. It is what it is. So I kind of like to go after those kind of people that really can't be like, well, no, I don't need cyber. I don't need EPLI. I don't need crime. No, you do. Well,
Yeah.
you need it anyway, but they think they don't need it, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like those are the 3 that we're going after.
I
Clients.
love the manufacturing class
I love
code.
it. It's
I
my favorite one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great one. Have you used or added any tech to help you with the ENS process?
So we're actually building out. I use Agency Zoom.
Yep.
You know, I don't have an astronomically large agency,
Yeah.
so Agency Zoom does what I need it to do. Also, they're commercial lines clients, so I'm not an over communicator with them. Like I know with personal lines, like there's so many touch points
Yeah.
of like I don't send my commercial clients like the national holiday, like the pet day, the this day. I don't do like I don't have to really give them the warm and fuzzies, like
Yeah.
you do on personal lines. Um, I do like their anniversary of being in the bunker, but I'm not sending them the Thanksgiving or the Christmas. Like I'm not overwhelming them. So as far as like nurturing them, agency Zoom is, I've heard a little bit limited, but that doesn't matter to me because I'm not over nurturing
Yeah.
those things. We're more hands-on in person. I'm talking to them constantly, so I don't need to rely on the campaigns. But as far as process, Agency Zoom has helped me a lot. We have
Okay.
our pipeline built out there. I use Hawksoft for my management system.
Okay.
Stackwise, Casey Nelson is the one that's helped me build it all out because I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
um, and so, like for example, like my renewals, they drop in from Hawksoft into Agency Zoom 60 days prior to renewal. An email is triggered out. Has anything updated? Or any new vehicles, locations, change of operations, those types of things. We use WonderWrite to gather our supplemental
Okay.
applications
Yeah.
because everything we do is a supplemental.
Yeah.
So that has WonderWrite is probably the piece of technology that has changed my agency the absolute most because getting those supplemental applications was just torture.
I
It's
mean,
torture.
if you that is what you're focused on, or if you do a lot of ENS, you have to have a
Yes.
WonderWrite
Yes.
or something like
Yep.
it.
Yep.
That's
You
a
have to.
yeah.
I mean, chasing people for handwritten applications, you would be shocked how many people still just do handwritten applications. And it's just, that has been the one that has, and even at renewal time, it's just you go in, you make a copy, you assign the questions for them to update it. So WonderWrite has been has elevated my ENS game.
Yeah.
Using IPFS for my payment portal, being able to
Yes.
gather payment in one. I don't have to talk about premium finance anymore. I just send the link if they want to
Right.
pay in full or okay, whichever
Right.
one. Doesn't matter to me, right? Those types of things have streamlined it in the way where I don't have to be involved in every single step of the process.
Yeah. Yeah. That billing side is huge, and I don't know
Huge.
when you adopted that or if it was right away or not. I did not adopt a program like that right away, and of course I think the billing of ENS is worse than the processing of it.
Yes,
It's a nightmare.
it is a nightmare. It is.
Uh,
It is. There's no
and
way around it.
and I started to use late Ascend, and once I did that, and I'm like, what am I doing? Why did I wait so long? This was ridiculous. And I've heard nothing but great things
Yeah.
about
It's
IPFS.
great, and I've been able to have like when I need something, I need help winning a deal with more aggressive finance. I pick up the phone, and my local rep is phenomenal, and she gets it done for me. So like that, I know I'm never losing a deal on finance. I know it, unless it's their own issues, maybe past history, you
Yeah,
know. Client wise, I can't guarantee it, but on my side, I know IPFS will come through, which is what I need.
yeah.
You know.
Let's talk a little bit about the evolution of Ciara as a producer, and I want to
Yeah.
hear where you've come from, where you started. Like you said, you were starting in a market that you weren't really that familiar with,
Yeah.
and I think what Killing Commercial probably gave you is or helped give you was some confidence.
Absolutely.
So let's kind of discuss where you were 4 years ago to how you evolved to now to just prospecting and be having the confidence to talk to, talk to a business owner and have the confidence that you know what you're talking about and that you belong there.
So it's funny because David always says one of my favorite lines of his is that the only person that believes you don't belong in the appointment is you,
Yeah.
right? And the more zeros are behind that premium, the less qualified you think you are. That's natural, right? I think that
Yeah.
happens to all of
Yeah.
us.
Good point. Yeah.
And if you don't do it every day, which in true middle market, you're not closing a deal every day like that, right?
Right.
Some of them are far, there's a couple weeks, months in between if the deal is big enough, right? So if you don't do it enough, you get rusty as far as your confidence. And that happens to me still. Honestly, it does. And I think that one of the best things obviously to do is, some may think I'm an over preparer. I don't think so. Right? I mean, if the only thing I can control is how prepared I am,
Yes.
whether it's a presentation on stage at a convention, whether it's for a big deal I'm trying to close, right? That's all I have is my preparation.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I always try to do, is just be overly prepared. Try not to come off that way, right? I don't want to be a robot
Yeah.
where they think I'm rehearsed, especially sitting, across from a prospect. But really, it's a mental game, honestly. The prospect doesn't know the difference.
Yeah.
Most of them, right? There's some that are very educated in the game of insurance, sure.
Yes.
But if you think about it, you are the one that knows the most about insurance in the room.
Yeah.
So I would say what's helped me is to really remember that in my mind, right? Like, I belong in this appointment. They gave me their time because they believe I'm educated and prepared enough to help them, right? They believe in me. Otherwise, they wouldn't have given me their time. And be prepared, and also research them. Get
Yeah.
familiar with their industry,
Yes.
with their business. Don't go in blind, right? Do your homework about them. Do a little stalking online, right?
Yes.
I mean, we have these resources available to us. Use them.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's kind of like what I do up front, as far as just so I can walk in and be less nervous, because I'm always going to be nervous. It's just who I am.
Okay.
It's like inside, I'm always nervous, right? So I mean, I don't know that that goes away. Does it go away, Brad? You tell me.
I think it does,
Okay,
and
good.
I'll touch on that in a little bit. I think it does, but I love what you're saying about being prepared, because I'm the same way, and that's for whether it's a test or it's
Mhm.
a key appointment. I want to put as much as I can into it, and gain as much knowledge as I possibly can, so I don't have to say later, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would
Right,
have done
right.
this.
It's the only thing you can control.
And then some of those little things, like, I was reading on your website about, that you guys do
Right,
this,
right.
tell me about that.
Mhm,
And that does, and of course that gives you confidence, because then you're comfortable with that.
mhm.
You're comfortable with that business, you're comfortable with that person, and they're probably going to be a little
Yes.
impressed. Yeah.
You know what I also am not afraid to do, which actually helps me with my confidence some, is if they ask me a question that I don't know the answer to, I tell them that.
Yeah.
I don't try to BS it. I don't try to make something up to make it seem like I know everything. I have no, like, obviously, if it's 4 questions in, I can't continue to say I don't know. I'll
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
back
It
to
doesn't
you.
look good. Yeah.
No, no. But like, that's never happened to me in the life of an appointment, right? Maybe I
Yeah.
get one question where it's like, you know what, let me get back to you on that. I want to be certain of my answer. And I think that most find that respectable.
They do. And I think most intelligent people can tell if you don't really know what you're
Exactly.
saying.
I'm really bad at like trying to cover up that I don't know something.
You
You can see it on my face.
you want to lose trust,
Exactly.
and yeah,
Exactly.
that's a good way to do it right from the
Exactly,
get-go.
100%. 100. And then I would probably just ramble. I would get more nervous because I would feel like they could tell I don't know what I'm talking about. So I have no problem just being like, you know what? It might be this, but I'll get back to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you do.
And then I do. And then honestly, that's half the game too, right? How many people don't, their insurance agent doesn't get back to them. So just doing that establishes trust.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. So where would you rank your confidence level from 4 years ago to where
Oh
where
gosh,
you're at now?
I'm a different person. I
Yeah.
honestly, and especially this year, in between last year and this year, I have had a lot of growth personally
Yeah.
in my business. um it has been exponential, almost to the point where sometimes I don't recognize myself,
Yeah.
which they say that like that's good, right? Like to do uncomfortable things. The last 15 months, all I've been doing is trying to push myself
Yeah.
to be uncomfortable, to grow, and it's painful. It's not easy,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I'm
you're
doing it.
challenging yourself.
I am challenging myself every day,
Yeah, me too.
every day, and it's but it does help. It does help, and it helps because I'm coming through for myself, which also helps with my confidence, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not just winning the deal. It's not just crushing the presentation, right, on stage. That does help, but also just every day showing up and trying to be better helps with myself, right? Like it's a check
100%.
mark for myself internally. Like, yes, you did it again. You did hard stuff today again, and I do
Yeah.
it every day and every day. I'm trying, but yeah, it's not easy all the time. It's really not.
No. And I mean, I'm going to, progress is gradual,
Yes,
right?
and it's not linear.
No, no,
No, it's far from linear.
no, no, it's not. No, there's not a straight line.
Nope.
I
Nope.
mean, and that's with just about anything, right?
Yep.
I mean, you take steps back, and then that's when you start to question yourself, I think, a little bit.
Yes.
And, but so it doesn't, it's, you know, Teresa Kitchens always says this: progress, not perfection.
Mm-hmm.
And we want perfection. We want to be better now. But there's ups, there's downs, and I think it's over a period of time, whether it's months or a year, if you take a look back and say, where was I at this point in 2022? It's drastically different.
It is. I mean, even this year for myself, right? It's end of October. If I looked back, it feels what I've gone through this year. It feels so challenging, right? And like so many losses. But when I did my numbers, I've already reached my revenue goal for the year.
Wow. Nice.
So it's like, but I don't feel that, right? Because I'm in it every day. I'm uncomfortable every day. I'm challenging myself every day. But like if I take a bird's eye view of the year, a lot of progress has been made.
Yeah.
So that's why it's always important
Massive.
to also evaluate, right? Like
Yeah.
I can't be so hard on myself. I have to take the time to reflect. Okay, it feels like this, but you've also made a lot of progress and growth. So I
Yeah.
should enjoy that as well. And just
Yes.
keep it moving and keep the challenge, and then the challenges for next year are going to be bigger.
I think this is a good conversation for those that are younger into
Mhm. Mhm.
their business, into their journey, because you're not going to walk in day one and have this confidence.
No.
You have to get your reps in.
Yes.
You have to take some lumps.
Yep.
It's just part of it.
It's part of and it doesn't end, right? Like it does even with the confidence, the lumps come.
Yeah, of course.
Sometimes they're bigger.
Yeah.
Right? Because you think you got it. You think you're confident. And then that's another blow, right? And then you have to evaluate, well, why didn't I get it? I thought I had it. What did I do wrong? Right? It is non-stop evolution. And it is the most painful sort of growth I've ever had.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good, but it is life-changing for sure.
I've talked about it a little bit, which I think all of us that are driven, we can be hard on ourselves and maybe our own worst critic. For the first 7 years that I owned an agency, I didn't really work on myself. I was really working hard. I was really working hard at being an insurance agent. And that also happened to own an insurance agency. And then I really started to work on being an agency owner. And I started personal development of reading podcasts, everything that I could. And I was just wanted to be a sponge. And for me, I think for my growth of an agency owner as a leader has, I don't know, I think it's improved greatly since I've really started working on it, but you have to put the time in.
I would say I was talking to Sean Fitzgerald about this last week actually, and I would say that this journey of insurance agency ownership, being a business owner, my family, again, we've owned 2 other agencies. I took a year off. We sold in 2018. We had that agency for 12 years. I'm going to tell you that the way things changed in 1 year, or you know what, maybe we were just so head down and successful that we weren't paying attention to the rest of the world. Maybe that's what happened. But I told Sean, back then, you just had to be a good insurance agent.
Yeah.
Right? You had to be an honest insurance agent, which we always were and we always will be. Honest insurance agent, and you were successful. Like literally, that's all it took. And now I have to be everything. I have the podcast. You have a podcast, whether it's for your clients or not, right? This provides visibility for your business. Like it is. You have to do so many things where before My dad ran a successful agency, and he showed up every day as an insurance agent. And you know what? He was a little risky. He was willing to try stuff.
Yeah.
That's all. That was his secret to success. He joined a great BNI group. He didn't give up. 5 things he did, right? Networking, always honest, always do the right thing, show up, don't give up, those types of things. And we killed it. And now it's just like the world has changed. The way we consume, the way we make decisions, the way we spend our money, everything is so different. The way to be found, right? My
Yes.
God, we used to have a printing room and we would do mailers. We had a gentleman that all he did was mailers. That was his full-time job. We would send
Yeah.
30,000 envelopes a month and we would kill it. Right? Like that's the Allstate in us, right?
Yeah.
That's all we would do. But it worked.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's also a thing of recognizing that, there's a balancing act, which I'm confident in that I have not found it out yet, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like, are you an insurance agent first or are you running a business first? And I think that this year it's pushed me to be more business, more make business decisions, always trying to do the right thing for the client, obviously, but
Yeah.
like, it's a hard balancing act for
It
me,
sure is.
for
For all of us.
Yeah.
To balance it.
Yeah.
And to try to grow, especially, when you're doing all of it, when you're
Right.
wearing all those hats.
Right.
And it feels like there's just more hats that are being added.
Yes. More hats are like, yes, the world is just giving us more hats to put on. Absolutely. And I'm really bad at delegating.
Yes.
Very bad at it. I need to learn how to do that.
What do you think that is?
Control issues.
Yeah.
It's a thing of, it takes me so much time to teach someone to do something, which probably means I'm a bad trainer as well, that I might as well just do it myself. But then I'm working 14-hour days. I can't and then why am I the one doing a finance agreement when someone else can do that, right?
Yes.
That's a low task, right? Does not need my help. So I'm working on it, and my employees helping me with that. We're organizing ourselves, actually documenting our process, which is part of the problem of being smaller, right? What documenting? I do it all.
Okay, so I was the same way, I mean, I think a lot of us are.
Yeah.
It'll say, it's easier for me to get this done in 5 minutes than to write it out and to have Ciara do it.
Right.
And does that stunt your growth? 100%.
Yes.
And so, there were no written processes when I took over this agency. So I had to sit down and do it. And my training.
The tweaking.
Yeah.
The keeping it updated is what I find challenging.
Yeah.
Going back to it, updating it with the changes.
It is. But I think it's something that you just have to invest time to do. And I finally did. And then it seems tedious, right? You're writing down, okay, collect information, you're writing whatever your steps are, whatever you're doing. Yeah, it's tedious, but it has to be done. My training was terrible too. Awful.
Thank you for making me feel better.
It's still not great, but it's better. And again, it's in making the investment. And I think, and I've heard, Sean talk about this as well, of it's easier to do it now when you don't have 4 other people than when you have, 4 other people that try to do it 4 different ways. And then it's 100%. Like herding cats.
100. It is, because that's what happened to us at our last agency.
Yeah.
We had 8 people and everyone did everything their own way.
Yeah.
And the thing is that this industry, it kind of doesn't force you to do those things, right? Like you could run an agency with everyone doing it their own way and still be very successful. So it's like, I feel like these are the things that we go to these conventions and we learn, and we know people that have done it, right? And that's the difference, right? Like when you have certain things that maybe the business doesn't automatically require from you because you can still operate and make a lot of money, right? Then you don't do it because you're just caught in the day. You're caught in the day. But it is an advantage that I have now, right? Of doing it now, doing it early, which I'm trying to do that so that I could make next year the year that really catapults me, right? Where I can make some major jumps here.
And I think that if people look at that whole thing, if I need to establish this, processes and procedures manual, you don't have to do it all in one day.
Right. Oh no, yeah. It's
You
taken
know,
us 4 days so far. We're writing it down on a board. We're literally step by step. And the thing is, Brad, that it's like I've never worked in real corporate America, right? I've never worked in a corporate setting that is like official corporate. I worked at the mall, at the Limited. That was the most corporate job I had for a corporate entity, right? Like, so it's very hard for me to understand where to start. Like,
yeah,
do you literally say, do you turn on the computer? Do you open Hawksoft? Do you open, or, what's your step number one? Because everyone's is different. So for my brain, it actually is challenging to put save file in Hawksoft. Make
yeah,
sure, step by step. And then when, for me, I see a process that I can do in 3 minutes, but on paper it's 37 steps. I'm just like
yeah,
overwhelmed,
yeah,
but it is.
yeah. But you write that down, and I'll tell you why. Because my virtual assistant, she is so like, if you don't put it down, it didn't
Right. It's not
happen.
getting done.
Initial. Now she knows it, but I mean, she was so literal.
Yes.
You had to put
Yes.
every step, which made me better with
Right.
writing processes.
Right.
Because no, I mean, I learned a number of years ago, people can't, they don't know what I'm thinking. I have
Correct.
to put it down.
Yes.
So, but I was gonna, touch on, no, you don't have to do the manual all in 1 week.
Mhm.
Put it on your calendar. I'm gonna make this process this week.
Right.
That's it. Then you made
Right.
it. Then you make another one the next week.
Hmm.
You know, 4 weeks later, you have something going.
Right.
So
Right. That's kind of what we're doing with the
yeah,
renewal process for Agency Zoom. And like, we're making sure to get those, like, for example, I'm tweaking the email that goes out, the text message that goes out, like those things. And we're not going to move to the next one without 100% finishing the
yeah,
renewal. Yeah.
yeah.
You got it.
Let's I want to pivot a little bit. I want to touch base on your podcast, which you and I talked when you were just starting it, getting going, because it was about the same time that I was, started getting mine going. So tell me about your podcast and how it's benefited your business.
So, one of the things that the main reason why I started it was because I was so drained for time. When you start, which you touched on it, right? You even though I knew what I wanted to write, I had to pay my bills, right? So you go out, you network, until you just can't even talk to one more person in a day, right? Like, and I was in the process of all of this personal growth that I'm trying to do. I was just absolutely drained,
Yeah.
like just completely. I could not go to another lunch. And so I had done it enough where I had built several key relationships that I've identified, which going to these conferences helps you do, right? Like learning from people that have found out the sauce and then bringing it home and applying what I can apply has really helped me. And that's one of the things, right? It's identifying that I've learned in January this year at the One City World Tour was identifying key relationships that you can deepen. You don't need 25 of them. You
Yeah.
need 5 really deep rooted ones. And that changed my perspective entirely. And I had already started the podcast, but that's really what allowed me to really, really put more effort into it because I was able to use it to gain some of my time back.
Mhm.
So, for example, it's not an industry podcast,
Right.
right? It's strictly for local business owners here. Well, they're just business owners. I try to do it in person still. I haven't done one virtually because I want to keep it local.
Yeah.
Any of my insurance friends that come into Fort Lauderdale want to be on it, please, I would love it. But if I can keep it local in person, as long as I can, I will. I have a list of virtual ones that if I ever wanted to do like a virtual series, I have access to so many intelligent entrepreneurs that can give so
Yeah.
much feedback.
Mm.
But ideally, it's local, in person. And I kind of did it selfishly in a way to get some of my time back, right? Instead of going to a lunch with 25, 35 business owners, now I get to be intentional with one business owner. I talk about them. We don't talk about insurance at
Right.
all because nobody wants to talk about insurance,
Yeah.
right? We talk about business. Tell me about your failures. Tell me about your successes. What has helped you? How do you manage employees? How do you do that? What has the community done for you? All of those types of questions that are very targeted to them First of all, to give back, right, to my
Yeah.
local community, I am very fortunate, right, to have people like you, to have people like all of our friends, right, that are in our community that are so generous with their support and their constant cheering for me, right? Like I'm not alone. I never feel like I'm alone because we have a great community of
Yeah.
entrepreneurs around us, right? But I don't know that every industry is like ours.
I
I
don't
think
think
ours
so.
is special. I don't think so either. So in my head, I was like, well, I have so much of my success is due to this, right? You,
Yeah.
I can send you a message. You will help me. I have so many
Yeah.
people. How many of
Yeah.
these entrepreneurs are alone that don't? So my thought process was, well, let me bring people that also, when you reach a certain level of success, you're ready to give back, right? You're
Yes.
ready to mentor, you're ready to help. Also, I want to reach those people that have reached that level of success because obviously they're established.
Yeah.
So I get to highlight them, we get to talk about them. And then at the end of it, I ask them, hey, who else do you think would be a great guest? So I'm making my way through the community of high performing entrepreneurs. They get to come and spend an hour with me here. And it always is longer. They get here, we talk after. It's usually about a 2.5, 3 hour process by the time we start and finish. But at the end of the day, they're asking me, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Who are you looking to meet? Right. So it is something that I walk into rooms now and I have people saying, oh, she has a local podcast. So
Yeah.
the social proof it's creating for me is probably the biggest benefit for me, for my business, right? Because they share it. These local business owners are sharing the episodes that they're on, right? And
Yeah.
then it spreads. So I've loved it. It was something that I forced myself to do, growth, challenge, and I am the person that does it all, the tech, the camera, the
Yeah.
audio. I've had a couple issues with one of my episodes, which was one of my best. The camera stopped working like 4.5 minutes in. And I said, you know what? We'll just roll with it. We released the audio only. What am I going to do? Right? It's
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
that learned along the way.
Yeah.
It's just add another thing to my challenge bucket here that I'm doing. But it is what it is. I got to get it done. And I've been able to just, it's forced me to grow. It's forced me to be comfortable on camera. It's forced me to ask different questions, to think differently, to be able to come up with things off the cuff, like things like that. Right? It's probably my favorite thing that I do in the
Right.
business so far, right? Because
Right.
and I'm learning, and it feels like I'm being poured into, even though that it's for someone else, but I'm
Yes.
actually the one that walks away feeling fulfilled.
Same way. So, and you mentioned being drained, and I didn't, I never envisioned this being a benefit, but it fills my cup. It
Mm,
gives me energy. You
right.
talked about being drained, and that's just it's not always a podcast. That's just connecting with people on
Hmm.
on phone calls.
Hmm.
Um, and that's why I kept connecting with people was because it just gave me energy. I became away inspired. Like I said, it just that was a huge benefit to me. And I imagine it sounds like you're receiving the same benefit is with these local business owners is you kind of create a bond,
Yes, yes. And at the end of the day, my goal is not to write their insurance. Like
right?
my goal is to give back to my local community of business owners. But at the end of the day, when something goes wrong with their insurance agent, they're going to call me, right? Because now they know someone that has done probably more for their business than their insurance agent has,
Yeah,
right?
but
So
you
the
see
connection
how
is made.
yeah, and you see how power. I think that's so much more powerful because I wonder if there's a lot of people that you meet with that they wonder if this is a means to that end. And when you don't
Um,
cross with the sales piece, they're like, "Oh, this was just great. We just connected. We
right.
just talked about me."
And honestly, so far, I've had people that, sure, they own businesses, but it's not like writing their insurance would be like, make me rich here,
Yeah, yeah,
but they're
yeah,
key
yeah,
like, for example, like I interviewed one of a great episode of mine was an estate planning attorney, right? And where we spoke about the importance of getting your documents done, getting your business documents done,
yeah,
like those, that is value that
yeah,
every business owner, and that some of them don't learn it till it's too late, right?
yeah,
If I could provide that up front because they don't have the network, that makes me happy. I
yeah,
don't care if I write is malpractice and it's cyber, right? Like, okay, it's that brings me joy to give people the access to the information that could literally save their business.
yeah, yeah. We could use that in our industry a lot.
Yep, yep.
We're getting short on time. I do want to touch on an initiative that you're involved in, and which is big industry, small
Yes.
community. Talk a little bit about that, kind of where that's at. I love this so much.
Yes. So I was having a conversation. I was actually on the IGP podcast on my episode with Scott and Bradley. And we were talking about how, so many people just don't know what we do,
Yeah,
right?
it's true.
The consumer doesn't know what we do. Chris Paradiso used to say that he would sit next to someone on a plane and he would ask them, "Do you know what an independent agent is?" No,
Oh,
nobody knows, right? And so we were talking about the fact that the people on TV, right, like the large captives and not just the captives, but all our competitors, right, that are on TV have billion-dollar budgets for
yeah,
marketing, right? And they're really doing us they're actually not our competition, right? Like if you think about
no,
it, they're not. So, but the public doesn't see the difference. So this initiative is to be able to help insurance agents be a part of a community that is educating the public on what the independent agent channel does, right? And
yeah,
why we're so important to our local communities. We don't have the budgets to be on TV, right?
yeah,
Spending billions of dollars during the Super Bowl. We are the ones that are paying for your children's soccer tournaments. We're the ones sponsoring the things at the local chambers, at the nonprofits locally, right? We are hyper focused local.
yeah,
Even if you're an agency that writes across the country, right, in other states, you can still make a difference locally with your money. You're employing people in other states. It's all very local. And we want to create awareness with the public that really the independent agent is the best way to buy insurance
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
of what not just your dollars are going locally to our communities, but you're getting a better product when you have an advisor that has access to multiple things and they're not just pushing one,
yeah,
you know? And really we're focusing amongst us, the independent agent, is that when someone leaves the captive side or the online side and joins our channel of buying, we've all won, right?
yeah,
If we get them out of that cycle and get them to understand and appreciate what we do and why we're the better choice, all of us win.
yeah,
So if you think about it like that, it's very powerful and it's
yeah.
coming.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Where it's at now. I don't think that's no small venture
No,
for
no,
for a few people.
right.
So, kind of where is that initiative?
Yeah, it's in its early stages. We're
Yeah,
actually trying to sorry, something hit my computer.
it's okay.
We're actually trying to we're getting the merch together, which
Mhm.
is almost done to be able to get people, wearing it,
Yeah,
rocking it, right? The shirts, the hats to create some buzz. We're looking to do some content shoots as far as like what the initiative is about. We're also going to make it available to, try to templatize if possible for that agent that maybe doesn't feel comfortable with
right.
getting on camera, helping them still just spread the awareness across their local community as to why it's important to use the independent agent channel. So it's an education piece to both
Yeah.
sides, right? The public and the fellow independent agent. So
Well,
we're excited about it.
I applaud you guys getting in there and recognizing that problem, trying to solve it, and like you said, that helps all of us.
All of us win,
So
right? And we realize that our industry ourselves, our IA channel has done a bad job with really harping on what makes us different and why our true value, right? As an
yeah,
independent agent to the public. We know
yeah,
it we know it versus the captives, we know it versus online, we talk about it, but do we talk about it in a way that the public actually understands it? No,
no,
we don't.
yeah. Well, that's hard because
It is hard.
that's put on us to and instead of there's never been a program to say to promote. I mean,
Mhm,
that is what the big I should really be
mhm,
doing.
mhm.
I mean, in my opinion, or one of those
Sure,
organizations.
sure.
Um, and of course they have to have a budget for it. So that's
Right.
no simple thing. But
No.
yeah, to
Also, if you think about it, like imagine if there's not one household independent agent across the country, really, that the public knows.
no,
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 there's not. That
Oh,
like that's mind blowing if you think about it, right? Like when people think about insurance, the public, they think about carriers.
correct.
They don't know the channel of distribution. They know online, okay, I could get it online or I have to go locally to someone that's in a plaza that I see. But they don't even know what that's called. Like
Yeah.
an independent agent, that term, they don't know what that means.
No. And maybe that's where it needs to start, which
Right.
is that's at a big level, which, you know, that would take years. I
Yeah,
mean, to convince, again, it has to be an organization like that, like a big eye that's going
of
to say,
course.
we're going to make this national
Hmm.
initiative to really pump this, or we're going to need money,
Right,
and which is where it goes. So
right.
can probably get a lot more accomplished with what you guys are doing.
Well, that's the power of social media too, right? Where
Correct.
it's like if we the goal is to start like a movement, right? And that's why the merch was our first
Yeah.
choice to start it because then it gains popularity just being seen and being,
And if it's
hitting the
seen more
socials
and
and the
more, and
videos.
if, yeah, no, I like that.
So,
I like that.
we're just chugging along there.
I can't wait to get involved. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to take time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, obviously, you guys have a lot of other things going on, podcasts and business, and
Add it to the list.
yeah, that's right. Throw
Growing,
another hat on.
challenging.
Throw another hat on. Last thing I want to discuss, which we got into a little bit off air, was what is it going to take the bunker to improve in 2024? What do you want to focus on?
So for 2024, my main goal is to become a true like sales organization. I feel like the referral growth that I've had, it's been great. I've met my goals, great. It's carried me along the way. But if I'm going to scale and be aggressive about my growth, I have to take more control. I do it a little bit, but I need to do it consistently and I need to have a clear, defined plan. I need someone to hold me accountable to it, right? Like there it needs to be more of a process even for the
Yeah.
intentional prospecting, consistent. I traveled a lot this year speaking and going to conferences and stuff. Probably going to scale that back next year because I have a business to grow, right?
Yeah.
Like it's I need to be more intentional with the prospecting and the new business and getting out there consistently so that I could be, you know, and a lot of it is the ENS stuff we do. It's very service heavy, very as far as like paperwork and process and those things. I feel like I've got that under control. So it's created the room for me to intentionally focus on prospecting growth, to
Yeah.
become more of a business owner than an insurance agent, right? Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
hat of which one are you?
Yeah. Do you have ideas in mind? I mean, let's just say we touched on manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
How are we going to get in the door of more manufacturings, and is it a matter of saying, I'm going to make 20 calls a week. This is
Mm-hmm.
what I'm going to do and stick to,
Yes.
because I think for me, talking about preparation, I have to have a playbook, and I have to, I mean, I time block a lot of times that, that gets put, but I have to at least set, this is what my plan is. And if I don't do that, it's not going to happen. If I
Mm-hmm.
don't put things on my calendar of this is what I'm doing, it's not going to happen. So how, have you sat down and gotten into that yet of how I'm going to, become a sales organization?
Yeah. So my goal is to I don't want to be the one. It's also the never ending battle. Are you working in or on the
Yeah.
business? I
Yeah.
feel like I've been able to offload the renewal portion to someone where I
Oh,
can now I
huge.
manage it. It's huge, especially with the ENS process, right? So like we meet once a week. What do you need help? Do you need me to jump in? What are like those things, right? Like that feels already like I've made the transition to working on, not in it,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm not in the day to day. I'm not doing the application. I'm not sending it to be, which has been a relief. So I don't want to fall into being the one to do the only prospecting
Yeah.
because then I'm falling back into that, right? I need
Yeah.
to bring on. I would love to bring on
Mhm.
a producer to be able to do that for me and then manage them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
To be able to not jump right in. Not saying that I wouldn't. I'm I have some other ideas as far as like maybe I've looked up like that a couple manufacturing associations locally. Maybe I'll get involved in that, sit on their board, like those types of things. But I don't want to be the one sitting behind the desk doing these 25 calls a day. I mean, I'm going to have to at the beginning until I find someone.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's also that trap of the on versus in that I can get sucked into very easily again. And then if I travel, if I'm gone, then it stops for a week. Then, you know, I don't.
Right.
I'm the bottleneck. I don't want to be the bottleneck in the prospecting. You know,
reminds me of and I think it was this book, how to grow a small business by Donald Miller.
Okay, I haven't read it.
Really good.
Yeah,
really good. Who emphasized who, not how.
Oh, I'm reading 10x is easier than 2x, which is
maybe that's what it was. That could have been it too.
Talked about who, not how.
Yeah,
they talk about that.
That could have been it too.
So good.
Boy, yeah.
So good.
Both of those are really,
I'm going to
really
read
good. I think that was it. Which is, who are you going to get to do this?
Exactly.
And not how you're going to do it.
Yeah, they give the example of they give the example of the realtor, right? Is that the one?
Yes.
That she brought in she had like no business, but she brought in an assistant, and everyone was like, "You're not even busy enough." But it allowed her to focus on her 20%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that book has been life changing for me, and I'm almost done with it. It's been phenomenal. Like even in the process that I'm building with my producer, or with my CSR, I've had to like create a threshold. You know what? If it's under a certain amount of revenue, it's literally not worth me to pay him to work on it.
Yeah.
I lose money.
Right. And that's good to be transparent and communicate that this is why. Right. I know you want to help. We want to help, but this is why we're doing it. Sometimes with our people, they have to understand. Oh, I get it.
Exactly.
And once I started using terms like revenue, and then I started hearing some of them say it too, and why this makes sense.
Well, he's the one that told me, oh, well, yeah, if I work on this for 4 hours, you don't make any money. I said, there you go.
Yeah.
And in a year, remember, we make this a year. Like a BOP that comes across my desk where I'm going to make $75 for the year. No, I will happily pass on it. And I'm not the one that says, oh, but maybe they'll grow. I can't afford to wait for them to grow.
That's right.
I can't.
Yeah.
So.
Ciara, we are up against the clock here. I wanted to.
I don't want to keep you for hours.
I know. I told you. This could have been 3 hours easy. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for the invite.
Yeah. So glad we're able to do it. I can't wait to do it again. And I can't wait to see 2024 and how you grow and how I grow.
Yeah.
And how we're all
absolutely. It's a beautiful industry, and I'm thankful for you and your friendship, and thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. And whenever you're in Fort Lauderdale, you can come and sit.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I don't know when I'm going to be, but if I am, I'm going to do it.
Whenever it is, you have an open invitation here.
Awesome. Everyone else, thank you for listening to another episode of the Agents to Owners podcast. We'll see you next week.